We got Jay Hayes, and he is.
His voice of reason, JD Hall.
And we are Religiously Kentucky, joined by a very special guest today. You probably see her on BBN Tonight. That is right. We've been trying to hook up for a minute. Anna Tarullo.
Jay finally got his stuff going.
What is up?
Thank you for having me. I'm sorry it took
Thanks for
so
joining
long
us.
to get me on here.
Right. Well, all our fault, technical difficulties, and JD blames me. He's the voice of reason, so he's probably right.
I am right.
Right. But before we get into talking LSU and injuries and Georgia and records, icebreaker time, getting to know Anna Tarullo
Let's do it.
in the way that Religiously Kentucky can.
Come on, let's do it. I'm ready.
All right. So first question. Who is Anna Tarullo's favorite Kentucky football and basketball player of all time?
Okay, of all time. I was going to say
Yes.
current of all time. Let's start basketball because that is the love of my life. I got to go Chuck Hayes with basketball just because I loved his heart. You know, an undersized big man, especially, I mean, I'm not very tall. I'm like 5'5", and I always wanted to be a post player. So I used to have a Chuck Hayes rebounding poster in my closet growing up because that was just like who I wanted to be. I don't know. I just love Chuck Hayes. I think recently I really liked Karl Anthony Towns, and of course I love Oscar Tshiebwe. Football player, that is tough. I don't know if I've ever been asked that. That's a really great question. Let's just go this year. Let's say Wandel Robinson. I love him.
Yeah.
I think he's made everything so fun. I love his story, how he originally, went to Nebraska and he came back, and just to have a one and done season. And I think I love him so much, just how special it is. I feel like as a Kentucky fan, you always have these moments, like let's say at the end of the Citrus Bowl, where you think, maybe we might make an effort to come back, but it's Kentucky, so it's not going to happen. I feel like he changed the narrative completely. He's making it third in a million. He's catching the ball. So I think he's changed the program in a lot of ways with that, and I just love his energy. So I'll go Wandel and Chuck Hayes.
I think you're probably joined by a lot of the BBN when you mention Wandel Robinson for being your favorite football player.
Yeah.
So not a bad choice. Second question. Now, there's been a lot of argument on Twitter and Facebook and social media for this current question. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Y'all, I've never seen Die Hard. I don't even know what it's about.
What?
I know.
How is that even possible?
Bruce Willis in it or something. I think I know that, but I don't know anything else about it. I don't know the plot. I don't know anything about it. But
it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. I want to say it's a Christmas movie just because even if there's a point of debate, it gives me kind of the idea that it would be a Christmas movie, or else why would you even say that? So I'm going to go with yes. It is a Christmas movie.
Very good. Very good. Because in fact, during the Christmas season, 2.4 million people did watch Die Hard.
How do you know that?
In 2016.
Do you have like the Netflix code? Like, are you working for Netflix?
Google. So, question 3: does Anna Tarullo play the air drums in Phil Collins in the Air Tonight? Yes.
I couldn't do that.
I was going to say, like, if you don't do this, hard to trust someone that doesn't play the air drums during that part.
Absolutely not. No. Phil Collins fan, 100%. Yes.
And when this gets loaded up tomorrow, that soundbite from the song will be signed up right with your drum skills too. It'll be synced up with it.
My brother's a drummer, so I feel like I kind of have to, as just an honor to him. It would be being a bad sister move if I didn't air drum it out for that.
Right. Now we got to see where you're at. So finish this sentence.
Okay.
You put your right foot in, you take your right foot out. You put your right foot in and
turn it all about. Something like that. So the hokey pokey.
Close. It's close.
You were really super close.
So, you know what?
We'll give,
since I've been doing elementary school skating.
We'll give you that. Hey, that's
okay. What are the real lyrics?
Put your right
foot
in.
And
shake it all about.
Yeah.
do the hokey
You
pokey.
You missed it by
finish the
one. You missed it by
round.
one word. So you get
That's what it's all about.
just like Jay with his record-setting prediction for this week. You
And we'll
get partial
into
credit.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, you get half
I'll
credit.
take it. I mean, I know the hokey pokey part.
Right. There you go. And that's what it's all about.
You know, I've been to a family wedding before. You know that.
Percentage wise, and this is the last ice breaking, getting to know Anna Tarullo before we get into sports.
I love icebreakers.
Percentage wise, how much Kentucky apparel or Kentucky blue period does Anna Tarullo have in her closet?
Ooh, this is going to be skewed because I have
percentage wise.
Percentage wise, like, I mean, working where I work, I have a big closet, so I got a lot of clothes. It's mostly anchor dresses, so I got to say, but like, in terms of, let's try to like ratio this down in terms of just like things that I would actually wear, not on TV. Athleisure, like 30 to 40%, but that's a lot because I don't have other things. It's like either plain or it's Kentucky. It's not
right. There you go.
And it's always been that way since I was little. And I used to want like UK decorations in my room, and my mom was like, no. I was like, Mom, can't we just do like a whole UK room in the basement? She was like, no. So I'm always about the blue. Always.
Wow. And there you go, Big Blue Nation, getting to know Anna Tarullo in the way that religiously Kentucky does.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's talk sports. Starting with the LSU, we dropped that game. What were your takes from that game?
Gosh, take me back. I'm like, I need to refresh myself after that Georgia game. Interesting game. I'm legitimately trying to remember. I think with Xavier out and then with Ty with the cramps, you can't tell. I don't think it's going to tell you a whole lot about your team. What I do think it is going to tell you is that when it comes down to those moments, there's certain things that always seem to plague Kentucky late game. Like you never know what's going to happen in a game. You could have people out with injuries, but like, are your fundamentals and are you consistent in the way that you can handle late game situations? And that game was concerning for a lot of reasons. You know, I don't know what was on coaching, what was on the players, but I would say it was disappointing with how that happened. Just for Kentucky to fight back and be that close and not have a timeout called and not have a chance to really win. I think it was just extra disappointing as well because it was such a winnable game, even with Xavier out and with Ty out with the cramps at a certain point because of how many free throws you missed. And, you know, if you make – they were 10 of 20. If you make a couple more free throws, oh, my God, you wouldn't need the late game heroics. And then if you look at – I understand shooting slumps, but you can't blame it all on luck. But, like, you know, Kellen Grady went 0 of 7 for field goals in the first half. He went 0 of 6 from 3. If he makes a couple of those, you win the game. It's such a winnable game. It's in these little moments of discipline and consistency. It isn't talent. It isn't trying hard. It's things you need to be good at as a team and be consistent in. And I think that's when you're talking about postseason. Kentucky's such a talented team. And I think we saw that against Georgia. But again, in the first half against Georgia, if you think about the postseason, it's these times where Kentucky's the better team. They should be have a big lead or they should be ahead a lot. But it's little things like that will keep them from being ahead. And that's why it's so frustrating because it's so doable. So I think it wasn't a great indication, nor was the first half of the Georgia game of what could come in the postseason. But I think you can't read into it too much because of Xavier out.
Right.
And I think me and Jay are both on that same page. Yeah, it was disappointing because you could see that even with Xavier out and Ty out the last 9 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it was, the game was still winnable.
Sheway set pretty much the first half.
Oscar out the last 11 minutes, the first half, or something like that. So, but you could see that with our whole team, if our whole team was there, it's not a question of whether or not they win the game. But even with those guys out, you mentioned the free throws. To me, that's the biggest takeaway from the game as to why Kentucky lost.
Yeah.
Because statistically, throughout the season, there's no statistic that says Lance Ware and Oscar Tshiebwe are going to go 0 for 7 from the free throw line.
Right.
On the season, they're probably going to go 4 for 7 based on their shooting statistics. So it was just a weird, funky game. I know there was a lot of people online clamoring for the timeout there at the end, but when you're playing the number 1 defense in the country,
you don't give them time.
14 seconds to go, you don't call a timeout and let them set up their They're full court press when you don't have any other ball handlers but Davion Mintz.
Cal did say he tried to call timeout.
He did try to call the timeout after Davion hit the 3.
Mm-hmm.
But LSU inbounded the ball so fast it didn't get acknowledged. That's the only highlight I saw where he tried to call the timeout.
Mm-hmm.
If Davion's a little bit tighter with the ball, getting around Pinson instead of having the ball trailing behind him, I mean, that's a fundamental mistake, having the ball behind you and letting the defender hit it from behind.
Yeah.
So I disagree that they needed to call a timeout there, because if they had their full court press set up, they trapped the ball handler. You don't have it, then you don't have a timeout to call to save it. And now you get the ball across the half court line with 3 seconds, 2 seconds, or whatever. I understand what people are thinking. Call the timeout, set up a play. But in that situation with who you had available on the floor, I don't think it would have worked out.
I would agree with you if this weren't a common theme with him not to call late game timeouts, especially if you're a Hall of Fame coach. You're a Hall of Fame coach. You've been doing this for decades. You don't know how to beat that. Or like if you look at like Louisville women's basketball coach Jeff Walsh just had this amazing, I wish I remembered who they were playing. I can't, maybe Georgia Tech. And he had this great play drawn up, and he ran it, and he saw that Georgia Tech hesitated and didn't cover the right person the first time they ran the play. So Louisville's down 2 with a chance to win. And he said, you know what? They're not going to hesitate again because you're not going to mess up twice on a play. So he calls the same play and has somebody slide under the basket. And it gets important. And I just think if you're a Hall of Fame coach and you're John Calipari, you haven't been around basketball enough to draw something like that up. I understand the press, but it's like
just John, though.
This is also a theme with Cal.
But he's never in his entire career called late game timeouts, because
I have angst about it.
a lot of coaches don't call that.
A lot of coaches don't, because it's easier to attack a defense that's not set and is scrambling than a set defense. Even if you call and draw up a great play, it's still easier to attack that defense when they're not set and they're scrambling to get set and defend your guys. So I understand not calling the timeout and expecting your guys to make the play. Yeah. And it worked.
And if you
except for having the ball behind you and letting Pinson get it.
They've been successful at a set at all. You know what I mean? It's like, what are they going to get here? So I understand that.
Yeah.
Right. So let me ask you this. At any point in this game, did you think Cal might get kicked out? Because he was getting mouthy.
I actually thought he would at the beginning of the game for sure. I was surprised he didn't. Even in the first half of Georgia, he was like being a little bit wordy, and I was like, okay. And I can understand if he did in that LSU game to kind of give him that spark. I don't know if it would have changed the outcome, but I kind of wanted to see it happen a little bit.
I'll tell you what, the LSU
I'm surprised
game
I'm surprised he didn't get tossed after the out of bounds play where Grady went up for the rebound.
Oh yeah.
And the LSU guy crashed through him and called, which is an obvious foul.
Yeah.
Right in front of our bench, and they don't call it.
I think I'm kind of trying to get thrown out, but it didn't happen.
Right.
And how about his cheat sheet for Georgia game with all that?
Yes.
I was like, my man, I love that.
I'll tell you what this LSU game told me is that Kentucky was the better team. Even though the scoreboard didn't show it, you lose by 5. You got your starting point guard out. Shibwe sits a lot of the first half. And then you have your second guard cramped up in the game, injury. Let's call it an injury. And then we lose by 5. So that's kind of what I take away, but I'm a very optimistic person.
Totally. And to only lose by 5 when you shoot that awful in the first half and you suck at free throws and your 2 main ball handlers are out and Shibwe sits. Yes, Kentucky's the better team, but then building on that, what it told me was, well, how do you handle adversity? You should be consistent in these things, even when you are the better team. There's small things you could do to still win. Does that make sense?
Right. And with that being said, we'll move right into the Georgia game because Ty Washington moves to the point and we got it done. And yes, Cal had that cheat sheet with the ref staff. That was great. That was great. But Ty, and then this is the thing. I've been, I wouldn't say all year. Yeah, I guess it has been all year.
Pretty much every game.
I've been calling for this single game assist record all year. And I've been saying that Severe would definitely do it. He did hit 14. And then he gets hurt and is out. Ty comes in and does it.
Can you believe that? Like, what are the chances of that? You have a guy putting up record numbers with assists who's not your normal point guard, and you have a guy putting up record numbers with rebounds. Like, what is this year? We're going to look – I don't even think we realize it, Amber. We're going to look back on this year and be like, what the hell? All that talent on the court. But especially just how wide open it got in the second half, that was really fun. The first half – oof, it should have been that close, especially if you can run it up on them in the second half and get that assist record. But I think it was good for Ty to have. I think it was good for his confidence as well to have that game. Right. And then Oscar, Jesus Christ. What did you finish with 29 and 17? Something ridiculous.
29 and 17, yep.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yep. I think I saw a Corey Price stat saying that was the first time a player had done that since Jamal Mashburn.
In
Eastern. So that's that. I mean, like, that's we all love Oscar, but I was concerned in the first half, like, this is not a good Georgia team.
No.
Kind of.
Yeah, they had lost to Wofford. They had lost one of their exhibition games, and Tom Crean is just a weirdo. Right. And what was that? Like, Georgia hadn't won at Rupp Arenas in like 13 years, something ridiculous like that. But I think they beat Memphis though, didn't they? But, I mean,
yes, they did. Yep,
that's
during Memphis's like 4 games skid. That was one of their losses.
But that first half, well, that's what concerns me, because if you do that against a good team, I'm not trying to be like pessimistic, but when you have that much talent on the floor that you can do that in the second half, what are you doing in the first half that it's even a game? Like, do that against a good team, you don't want to get caught. You know what I mean?
Defense.
I tweeted out during the first half that it all starts with the defense, because it just didn't seem like they had the energy level that we've come to expect this year on the defense.
They were getting everything they wanted.
Right.
And I also think it took Ty a little bit to settle in, being the starting point guard and being that guy and running the offense. Obviously, once he did, I think we were down 3 or 4 or something there in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
And then he settled down, and that's when we stretched it back out to a 3-point lead at half. And then obviously what we did in the second half, getting it all the way out to 21 points. So I think it just took him a little bit to get settled in and feel comfortable to be the guy running the offense.
Totally.
And then he ran it really, really well.
And then he broke the damn record.
He broke the record. And how awful do you think Oscar would have felt if he didn't break the record because he missed that dunk? Right? Like, he misses the dunk, and then luckily Ty gets the rebound.
Yeah.
And right there's Keon for him to toss to him for another dunk. So,
oh my God. And what if he screwed up oh my God, I couldn't imagine.
Right.
I would not want to be Oscar. I would cry every day.
Yeah.
And you could see, like, right after that play happened, Oscar was kind of laughing with Ty about missing that dunk.
He was like, I got you, man. I got the next one. That's on me. That's my bad.
And then I'm glad it was Oscar that he got the assist for that 17th. Yeah, for that 17th assist.
It doesn't make the other one
to make up for it. Yeah. So
all these things are great. I mean, to me, it's like the home run record in baseball. It brings the fans out. And after last year, we needed this to it's so exciting. We need this back with everything that's going on. But one thing we're missing here is the assist is amazing. What Shibwe is doing is amazing. What about Davion Mintz?
Oh, man.
Huge in that game.
What? Especially the end of LSU, to bring that into Georgia, not only like getting his confidence back for when he was sick and he was out, but just I think for his confidence that he was such a leader on the team last year, and that it's not like he's not being able to be used this year the way that he performed at the end of LSU. I think that was a confidence boost for him as well, even though they lost, to keep them in that. He was just awesome. He was on fire. I love him. And I think he should have started that game, truthfully. Why would he?
I expected him to start.
Yeah, that was kind of with Brooks and Toppin in there.
But I think Cal kind of rewarded Toppin for the way he played against LSU to give him that start.
And
so I think that's where that came from. And he made the switch. He made the switch like that to bring Davion in. So
and I think Cal, a lot of it, more than we give, probably a lot of people give credit for it, actually, is psychological and worrying about the guy's mental, and motivating them. So rewarding Toppin for his play. And I think Mintz is a little bit older of a player, and maybe didn't need the same boost of confidence and
Right.
validation that starting would have given him. So I think a lot of it is psychological more than we realize, and it's less production based than it seems, because it's not like he's leaving the same lineup in there for an entire half. There's a lot of
Right.
change.
Right. Well, Oscar got a breath
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. It's true.
Someone said breather, and it was like, no,
It was that one breath,
was
baby.
It was a
That
breath.
Yeah.
That was
I mean, I think the end of the LSU game kind of catapulted Davion to his performance against Georgia.
Totally.
You know, because he hit 3 threes against LSU, so he kind of got that stroke back. He was 5 of 7 against Georgia from 3. It's something that's been missing from his game so far this year. He's kind of struggled a little bit. I think he was shooting about 28% or something like that.
Right.
And having him, I mean, that's got to be a big switch for him from last year, really leading the team, and then to this year having so many other moving pieces. I'm sure it did a lot for him to get his mindset back to have the game in your hands at the end of the game.
Right.
It's his dog.
It's Ghost. It's Ghost. I was just my parents were just in town. They just left. I was like, y'all need an emotional support dog.
Right. Right.
It's Ghost.
So, and it was especially good for him to have that 3-point stroke with Grady struggling in the Georgia game, going 1 for 6. So now that hopefully Davion's got that confidence back in his 3-point shot, now you add that to Grady and Ty shooting the 3. It's going to open things up, I think, a little bit for the 3 of them to get more open looks, because you can't just run at Grady and double him and play the type of defense that we saw LSU play in the second half after he hit those 4 threes, because now there's going to be 2 other guys on the team that are capable of hitting that shot.
Especially with, I feel like people are really clamping down on Oscar and covering him more, just to spread out that defense a little bit and give some other people some look with more people hitting. I think that'll be huge. It just also makes me just mourn the fact that I think we don't even realize what we're missing with CJ Frederick out. I'm glad we never got a little taste, because I think it would hurt even more.
I think we did in Big Blue Madness when he won the 3-point contest.
That is true.
And he beat Ty.
Yeah,
so,
right? I just like to not even think about it. That would be such a game changer.
Yeah, if CJ wasn't hurt, losing Ty and Severe in the LSU game probably wouldn't have mattered as much.
No.
Because now you have 2 ball handlers. You got a guy who's experienced, and when he was at Iowa, didn't turn the ball over, took great care of the ball.
Yeah,
is a knockdown 3-point shooter.
Unbelievable with how little he turned the ball over.
Right.
Unbelievable.
So it made a big difference in that game, I think, and hopefully we don't have to deal with that going forward.
Yeah.
And we don't lose Severe and Ty.
Yeah.
For a big chunk of a game again. So
or Sheboy. Definitely
or Sheboy.
Not Sheboy. I pray every night. I pray every night. Just kidding. But I'm like, no, we need Oscar. Nobody touch him. Nobody breathe too hard on him.
Right. Well, before you go, I got a couple things to ask you. Where do you see this team running deep? Or do they even run deep?
That is such a great question. They have the talent to run deep. Depends on what team we're getting, really. You got to knock off the first halves like you had against Georgia. I don't know how much you can put on the team, how much you can put on coaching and decisions in regard to that. I think what is unsettling is that it is so inconsistent that you don't know who you're going to get. They have the ability to go, oh my God, Elite Eight, I think, with the talent this year with other teams, with their experience especially. But it's doing the little things right, you know?
Is Anna Tarullo scared to say Final Four?
I'm scared to say Final Four. I'm scared. Hey, I'm scared to say Final Four. You can put that in writing. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like it's almost a little bit like Kentucky football. I think I've started to feel that way when it comes to end of game after last year, and even the end of LSU. It felt like deja vu. It's like when it comes down to it, it's going to be something little that we messed up on. You know, there's some little discrepancy that loses you the game. And even with all the talent this year, the fact that it was 2 free throws or something like that, that is still concerning. That could still be such an issue. So I don't know. I think SEC play will be very interesting, especially that Alabama lost to Mizzou. What the hell? So that made me excited to see what else is out there. But I'm excited Duke lost to Miami too. So I don't know. I think that's
they blew a lead in the last 45 seconds.
With that being said, how much will they fall? Because I asked JD this.
They're not. They're going to go up to. They'll be number 1 now.
Yeah, they're going to be number 1. Are you kidding me?
And the final question for you: does Shaedon Sharpe hit the floor this year?
I don't think so. Other people seem to. I don't think so at all. I just, why would you? Why rush it?
Right.
You know, you're not in need.
Right.
You don't need him.
Unless we have those.
Unless we have another situation like what happened against LSU.
Exactly.
Then to me,
but I don't think
I'm right there. I don't think he plays.
Rush to blame. People do.
Right.
And they're like, well, he's the #1 recruit. Why wouldn't you? I'm like, that's a far cry from having a whole summer to prepare for college basketball and getting ready. The kid didn't even have a uniform or Kentucky gear on for this game. People are like, well, we're going to see him play. I'm like, you're insane. No.
Right.
He's here to practice. Yeah. He doesn't even know where he is right now. He's getting And I wouldn't do it if I were Cal. Obviously, I'm not. But even just like from a confidence level, don't put him in there before he's ready. You don't know what's going to happen. So I think it'll be – I don't think so. But, hey, you never know.
Right. And even if he does play, it's not happening for at least 3 or 4 weeks.
No, not.
He's not. I mean, he's not playing until at least
February. Yeah.
February, at least.
Yeah.
Because, like you mentioned, and we've said, there's a reason why these players come to campus in June and not the end of August when school starts.
It is
because they get that 3 months of conditioning and working out, and not only that, building chemistry with each other and knowing where Ty likes to catch the ball so he can get a shot off, where he's comfortable. You know, where does Davion like to get it? How does Severe like to move around the floor, and where he's going to go? Like, that's all stuff you can't just learn because you're the #1 recruit.
Damian Collins in his first few games, I was like, oh my God, what the hell is he going to adjust? And then he has made a lot of strides, but even just you could tell that change of pace for the first few. I know he came from a really small high school, so it was different, but those first few games, it was like just an adjustment, I think, in the rhythm of the game. Why the hell would you rush that and mess with somebody's head? You know what I mean?
Well, hell, even Kellen Grady said when he got to Kentucky,
from different leagues,
he played 4 years at Davidson, was a 2,000-point scorer, and he had to adjust to the game and the speed of these players he's going against. And you think a kid who's a high school senior who hasn't played a basketball game in 3 weeks is going to be able to do that?
Yeah,
like the people that are saying that. We could have done our whole ending segment with just tweets about people saying that Shaedon Sharpe's going to play.
Which I'm like, y'all are nuts. Like, in my mind, it wasn't even a possibility. Maybe if there's like some crazy need or Cal's trying to pull something, but I don't think realistically why you would do that. I don't know.
Right. Well, we definitely appreciate you taking time out and finally getting to come on our podcast.
Even
Make
with
sure
all
you check
our
this out when we get it.
Yes,
I'll get it edited up and it'll be wild. But Big Blue Nation, BBN Tonight's Anna Tarullo, and follow Anna on Twitter at Tarullo Tweets. Amazing. And we thank you for your time.
And if you live in Lexington or wherever you can watch BBN Tonight, watch BBN Tonight.
Yes.
I don't. Definitely. I live in Ohio, so I don't get it.
I'll watch you.
Oh, you're the best. Thank you.
But check us out. And we appreciate your time, and make sure you tune in to this after I get it edited up, because I'm gonna throw some Joey Tribbiani, how you doing, and some fun stuff. But you'll enjoy.
We're ready.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Anna Tarullo of BBN Tonight. Check her out and follow her on Twitter at Tarullo Tweets. She's fun. I'm telling you, it's fun.
And I'm just glad that she hung with us and, didn't kind of hold the technical difficulties against you too much. So
yeah, I've been telling everybody it's your fault.
Hey, I'm not the host.
No, but hey, man, those things happen. People that podcast know like it's always something special.
And the crazy thing is the reason why you were having the issues.
Yeah.
Like you moved your desk 3 feet or something like that.
Yeah.
And it just messed with everything. So
yeah, it's crazy, but
yeah.
Kentucky now, I mean, they look good. And on that LSU game, I really did think that's what I took from the game, that Kentucky was the better team.
When they're fully healthy and with everybody.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And in the Georgia game, I was a little concerned in the beginning, like, what is going on, really? but
I was too.
I was concerned that we would lose.
I didn't think we would lose.
Right.
No. But I thought like the way that game was going in the first half, I thought it was going to end up being like a 5 or 7 point win.
Right.
Because they were just going to let Georgia hang around the whole time.
Right. It was just
but
energy.
Coming out in the second half, they had a different energy about them on the defensive end.
Right.
And they seemed to be playing just a little bit harder, a little bit faster than what Georgia was. And I think at one point in the second half, they were shooting like 70% from the field. So they were getting a lot of good looks, and they were making them. And then obviously Davion stepping up and hitting 3 threes, and I think 3 threes in the second half, 4 threes in the second half. Yep. So that helped a lot. So, but you also saw, Ty his little struggles there to start the game. I think being fully comfortable with running the show, but he settled in as the game went on, and he got better and better and better as the game went on, running the offense and getting to basically anywhere he wanted to get to on the floor.
Right. And dropping dimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some people tweeted at me and were like, maybe poking a little fun, but at the same time, I'm like, hey, dude, I'm here for it. Yeah, I was only half right, but man, how amazing is this to watch this?
Right.
To see it's exciting, and it was just like I was happy regardless of what player it was,
Right, exactly.
Of course, I wanted to be fully right. Who doesn't?
Yeah,
but
you wanted it to be severe against Georgia with the 17 assists.
Right. What a story is that? That's and it's still a great story because I'm telling you that Severe Wheeler is going to break this single game assist record held by Ty Washington now. 18.
I don't know. Do we play Georgia again, or do we only get them once this year?
I'm not for sure.
I don't know either. Let me check. I got the schedule saved. So, looks like we only got him once this year.
Yeah.
So he's not going to get a chance to break the record against Georgia, which is a shame because if anybody saw the interaction between him and Crean, like that was just an awkward looking interaction. Like the look on Savier's face was like, dude, just get away from me. Why are you hugging me like this?
Yeah. For one, why are you grabbing me by my neck?
Right. Exactly. He's got an injured neck. And it wasn't like he saw like it was a violent, aggressive grab of the neck. And when
it was a weird exchange of like, hey, like it was.
But it's Tom Crean. He
on
does
his chest, and he's like, what just happened here? Like,
right. But it's Tom Crean. And he does weird shit like that. So
it's like I was kind of bugged out about it a little bit, like strange,
right? Very strange.
Yeah. Yes, it was. I believe Kentucky has Vanderbilt coming Tuesday
night,
and then
which is a quad one game
Saturday. Yes.
Yep.
And then Tennessee next weekend. Hey, I don't care what game. I don't know. I might call it for every game. I don't care what game it is, but I'm telling you, Severe Wheeler is going to break the single assist of record held by Ty Washington. And how crazy is that to happen?
It'd be awesome for him to do it Saturday
in
night.
Year.
When I'm at the Tennessee game for an early birthday present. Wow. So
that'd be right.
Xavier, if you hear this, if you listen to it, I would appreciate another record-setting night my next time in Rupp.
Right. And if he does, let me ask you this. And if he does, will you jump up and say, Jay Hayes is right? Like as loud as you can scream it.
Maybe. I'll give you a maybe. I'll give you a maybe on that one.
Or stop by everybody you see walking out of the game saying, hey, Jay Hayes, religious.
Or maybe I'll go down to that side of the court, where they come out of the locker room after the game. And I'll grab Xavier. I'll be like, hey, I do a podcast with this dude, and he called you breaking Ty's record.
18, baby.
18 assists.
Man, that would be awesome. I love for things to happen. And, to be honest with you, I don't care what record is broke. I just like these records being broken because we needed
It's fun
to get back
Mhm.
to Kentucky basketball, and that's one of the things that is Kentucky basketball is doing these amazing feats, and I'm enjoying it, man. And I like my team. Like I
Yeah,
said, I was like, oh man, on the LSU game because I know we're a better team, and then
right.
you hearing these guys, these analysts saying how great LSU's defense is, and they are good. And I'm not
They're
saying
really
that,
good. They're
but
really good.
I don't think Kentucky is that far behind.
But
Every game we're becoming more and more
but
elite defensive team.
our offense is so good
Right.
that it helps negate a little bit of their defensive prowess. Because even if they help, they're the number one defensive team in the country according to Ken Palm.
Right.
So we are the number one scoring team in the SEC, averaging like 83.5 points a game, something like that.
Right. Right.
So even if they hold us to 72 points, that's still a tremendous defensive effort on their part. But it also tells you how good Kentucky's offense is if they're scoring 72 points, 74 points against a team that only gives up 55 on the year. Like
Facts.
even in that game, they didn't really. Yes, we went 11 minutes without scoring,
Yeah.
right? But a big chunk of that scoring drought was right after Ty went out with cramps.
Yeah.
And there were missed free throws during that time.
10.
You're
The whole game.
You're trying to adjust on the fly with your third ball handler being your point guard.
Right.
And I know Davion played the point at the end of last year, but Davion Mintz is not a point guard. Davion Mintz is a combo guard. And it's really tough for guys like him to come in like that and continue to run the game plan and execute the game plan
Right.
like Xavier and Ty are going to. And when stuff like that happens, no matter how great you are as a coach, if you lose your 2 point guards, your top 2 ball handlers, you're going to struggle in that game. Your team is going to struggle in that game because you can't make those type of adjustments on the fly to help negate that big of a loss. And even during that scoring drought, Cal adjusted the offense. Instead of running Grady and that floppy action on the baseline, they went back to the middle screen with Oscar. The first one, he got fouled. He had the 1-and-1. He missed the front end of the 1-and-1. The second one, he got a wide open dunk. Right? So he did adjust the offense for the personnel that he had out there, and it worked.
Right.
The problem was when you're down to your third ball handler, and LSU is as good of a defensive team as they are, it's hard to continue to execute your game plan the way that you need to execute it to be successful.
Right.
Because once they get out there on the floor, it's on the players to execute what the coaches want them to do.
Right. I even thought that in the Georgia game.
Mm-hmm.
New ball handler.
Yep.
We saw the first half. He had to settle in.
He had to settle in, and it took about a half for him to settle in.
Yeah.
So about 10 minutes, about the first half of the first half, settle in and get really comfortable. And after that, he played really well from that point guard spot. So I think it's a good learning experience that the team needed to be able to play without Xavier.
Yeah.
And have Ty run the point, because now if Xavier has to miss 2 or 3 games, now you're comfortable with Ty as your point guard because you know what he can do. And he's comfortable being the point guard because now he knows, okay, this is what I'm expected to do, and this is what I am capable of doing. I don't have to defer to this guy, Xavier, who's the leading assist guy in the SEC, when he's out on the floor, like I do when he's there. So now it's up to me to be that facilitator, that playmaker, to not only score points, because he had 17 points in that game, but also set up my teammates to be able to be in a position to score. Right. And another thing from that Georgia game that gets overlooked, Keon Brooks had 14 points.
Yeah.
Was 6 of 8 from the field.
Yeah.
Hit both of his free throws. So quietly, Davion Mintz and Keon Brooks had really, really good games that are getting overlooked.
Yeah.
Because Oscar had 29 and 17, and Ty goes out and sets an all-time assist record.
Yeah. 17.
And now you forget about these other two guys who had really good games.
Yeah.
Because of what else happened on the floor. Right. So I think that's a good thing and a good issue and problem to have.
It is.
When you've got guys that you're forgetting about because of what happened with other guys.
Right.
Especially with Grady shooting the way that he shot in that game. But I did notice, like, in that game, he was driving into the paint more. Like, he got a layup. Yeah. So he was trying to use that mid-range floater game a little bit more in this game to open up his three-point shot. And he missed some really, really good looks in that game. So I don't think that's going to continue. I think we've seen that he's too good of a shooter for him to continue to have, an extended cold streak. Because going back to the LSU game now, he's 5 for his last 18.
Right.
So it's not concerning to me. And I don't think it should be concerning to anybody else in the BBN.
Well, it is, and we'll get to that portion of the show here soon. But that's where we are in Kentucky basketball, Vanderbilt this Tuesday. But now I want to get into just some tidbits of Kentucky football news.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Stoops hires brother Mike, linebackers coach. What do you think about that?
Mike Stoops, I think, has been a really good defensive coordinator in his time.
Right.
Now, I think the last couple of years he was at OU, they struggled. But that may not necessarily be on him. It could be the type of players you're running, and then what kind of offense that Stoops was running out there at Oklahoma, that spread offense. It's tough on your defense.
Right.
To continue to be playing at a high level because those spread offenses, they score so fast or they go 3 and out really fast. So your defense gets worn out. But I think it's a really good hire. Because not only do you bring in a guy who's experienced coaching the defense to coach your linebackers, but you bring in a guy who's got a name as well. That Stoops name carries a little bit of weight, in the football circles.
Was it a little bit of like, hey, let me get my family some of this Kentucky money?
I don't think so.
I really don't think Mark Stoops.
I don't think he would do that.
Yeah.
Now we all know that he's extremely loyal to his assistants.
Right.
But I don't think he's going to hire a guy just because it's his brother. If he didn't think that that guy could do what he needed him to do on the recruiting side and on the coaching side and make it the right hire.
Right.
So I like the hire. I don't know who all the candidates were for the job, because I don't think there's ever a real list ever put out. I know there were people talking about who they wanted. There's people talking about wanting Courtney Love to be elevated to the linebackers coach, and I don't know if you can go from a quality assistance or whatever coach he is, going all the way up to the linebackers coach.
Right.
Like I think there's levels you need to go through before you get to that position.
Right.
And if you haven't held, those things and moved up, then I think then you're just promoting a guy because of his name, right? It's a great name for Kentucky. Courtney Love has been a great ambassador for the University of Kentucky's football program.
Yeah.
But I don't think that warrants hiring for that job without any other proven experience anywhere else.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
It does. I get it. Moving right along, some key guys staying for Kentucky football.
Jordan Wright came out and said he was coming back. Jacquez Jones announced he was coming back. I think those are 2 huge pieces for your defense next year.
Yes.
Because now you got Jordan Wright there, and you're probably going to have him playing opposite of JJ Weaver. So you're gonna have two tremendous pass rushers there. Then you add Keaton, one of the Wade brothers. I can't remember which one plays defensive end. Who is a phenomenal pass rusher. Jacquez Jones, who made some huge plays for Kentucky this year, knocking down the pass against Florida to seal that win. There's talk now that, if you go and just go search on Twitter, Tyrell Agent is leaning towards coming back. So now you're starting to build up that defense to be experienced once again going into next season. Because now you're going to get Ox back, you get Ribka back on the defensive line, Justin Rogers back. That's the making of a really good defensive front seven when you pair those guys with Weaver and Jordan Wright and Jacquez Jones, possibly DeAndre Square, Trevin Wallace coming back as a sophomore. There's a lot to be excited about with the guys coming back. Derek Jackson, we saw him getting quite a bit of playing time there at the end of the season, after tearing his Achilles during the summer. So, just another offseason for him to recover even more, and another offseason of learning the defense. I don't know, as a Kentucky fan, how you could start to be more excited about the defense going forward.
Right.
I don't know what would need to happen for you to be more excited.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this last episode. Wandel Robinson. We were in hopes that he might. we were trying to come up and say there was reasons that he
I think
could
it was
possibly,
literally,
and then after that,
the next day or that night, that it came out that he released that tweet. So
and I totally get it.
Good for him.
And I just saw that he had
get that money.
Best grade for SEC receivers.
I think it was like 90.5 or 91, something like that.
Good for him. Go get that.
Good for him. Go get your money. Go live your dream. He had the greatest single season for a wide receiver in Kentucky football history.
Yeah.
Most yards, most receptions. So what more as a receiver could he have done at the University of Kentucky? I don't think there's any more he could have done.
Right.
So we talked about that. The only thing that we thought he could have come back and done next year is shown some return, abilities, or stack a second season on top of this to show that it wasn't a fluke.
Right.
But he obviously got the feedback that he needed to get.
Yep.
For him to make that decision to go. So, congrats to him, and I hope he goes on and kills it. So,
yeah, I'll be tuned in, watching, supporting. So just a tidbit of football. I can't wait till it comes back around. Yeah. But we are in full season of basketball now in conference play. It's that time of the show where we discuss some things.
Just a few things.
This is. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
This is the dumbest shit from Twitter this week. What do you got, JD?
Oh man, I'm going back a long way here. I think we're going to start with. Let's start with Nick Roush.
Oh, Roush.
Yes. Tonight proves that UK is going to live and die with Severe Wheeler unless John Calipari decides he's going to run plays to get Grady and Sheboy open looks. Hopefully that happens, but I'm not optimistic. And that's not his dumbest tweet of the week.
Right.
I've been. It's just what I have to say.
I've been seeing more and more dumb shit from Nick Roush.
What did John Calipari and Kentucky do coming out at halftime against LSU? Did they not get 4 straight threes open looks for Kellen Grady to start the half. Yes?
Yeah. Facts.
LSU adjusted. They started playing third grade defense on Kellen Grady. Cal adjusted after trying to run against that defense for a couple of plays, a couple of minutes. He adjusted, and he went to middle screens with Oscar to get him open on the roll to the basket. And we already talked about this. He got fouled on the first one, missed his free throw, got an open dunk on the second one.
Right.
So it's not like Cal didn't make the adjustment to what was going on in the game. And tweets like that, and some of the stuff that's come out in the last couple of days from him, just prove that he really should not be talking about basketball.
Right. Right. And I'm starting to see more and more.
Let your guy,
these media
let your
guys.
guy, Brandon Ramsey, let him talk about basketball for KSR. Because Brandon Ramsey is really good. Zach Gagan, let him talk about basketball for KSR.
Right.
Jack Pilgrim, let him talk about basketball for KSR.
But not Nick Roush. No.
You stick to football and piggyback off what Freddie says. And that's your wheelhouse. That's your comfort zone.
Right.
That's where you stay.
And
let that be it.
Get your nose
because when you
corner.
do that,
don't you move.
Because when you do that, people really like you and you're really good. So do that. So you don't end up back on the dumbest shit from Twitter this week again.
Right. And I believe he's got a couple on here, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
maybe not.
Dude, there were tweets from the Georgia game that I could have pulled.
Right. And you're starting to see these media guys do this because it's attention. It's a attention grabber, you know?
Right.
And hey, people gravitate to dumb shit.
Mm-hmm.
We have a segment on our show, I mean, we call them out and correct them. Moving right along though. Damn, Dawson's Rule made it again.
Yep.
Wowzer.
He could be another fixture to this segment if we really wanted him to.
Right.
I just happened to see this because I think it was Ty again who retweeted him. Shout out to him for calling out the stupid shit on Twitter.
Right. Dawson's Rule.
Yeah.
It's Calipari. We always love the big game.
Lose.
Okay, yeah. It's Calipari. We always lose the big game in the road. Duke and Kansas usually win those games, but Kentucky, even with the senior-led team, loses.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, who are the seniors on this Kentucky team? It's Davion and Grady, right?
Yeah.
There are seniors.
Yep.
The majority of the guys you have playing this year are not juniors. Yes, they're not seniors. Yes, they are an experienced team.
Yes.
Which I think that's what he was trying to get to.
We always lose the big game.
But tell me, how did Duke fare last night at home in Cameron with a lead with 45 seconds to go to a shitty Miami team?
Unranked team.
How'd they fare? How has Kansas fared on the road in their last 6 games against ranked teams? I believe they've lost.
Win the big game.
I believe they've lost 6 in a row to ranked teams on the road. But according to Dawson, they always win those big games.
Right.
This tells me the dude has no idea what he's talking about. And it was in response to a Matt Jones tweet about the timeout, which we already addressed with Anna. So, everybody listening to this knows where I stand, and I think where you stand on that timeout situation. Far be it for us as fans to question a Hall of Fame coach about when or how to call a timeout at the end of a game.
Right.
Because Cal has always said He wants it to be a player-led team. Well, if you want it to be a player-led team, in situations like that, you don't call a timeout because you expect your guys, like Davion Mintz, who's a senior, to perform in the moment. And he just got a little loose with the ball that gave Pinson a little bit of room to knock that ball away from him.
Right.
And if he's tighter with the ball and has it out in front of him like he's supposed to, we got numbers. Because Pinson's in no position to defend anybody. So
Dawson's rule is a joke.
Dawson just needs to step away from Twitter during any kind of sporting event. Stick to calling your middle school basketball games and announcing those, because that's probably your wheelhouse.
Wow.
Leave the big games and big boy sports to people that actually know what they're talking about.
Which in Kentucky is very few. you need to talk to fans.
The loud ones are not the ones that know what they're talking about.
No,
not
at all. Moving right along. Damn, Michael Bennett causing a shit storm on Twitter. And Michael Bennett, this guy, he was good friends with our buddy John Wong, who has said some dumb shit on Twitter. And they always try to push, like they're very arrogant, and they're like, Cal this, and like, who the hell are you to tell a Hall of Fame coach any damn thing?
Right. And this is a couple of tweets this week. I think that was the only one I sent you for him with dumb shit. Or this was the first one that I sent you. Because there was another one that he sent out that I quote tweeted and said, I understand now why you're no longer on the radio. There's a reason why nobody listens to you.
Right.
And then this came out a couple of days later, I think. And it was he quote tweeted himself to begin with. As a UK basketball fan, what's the number one goal? Win championships or winning seasons? Well, that's a dumb question.
Right.
First off.
Right.
Because obviously you want to win a championship. Right? But that doesn't mean anything other than that is unsuccessful. So his quote to was, the obvious answer is championships. So what is the goal of UK men basketball every year? To win championships. The question now is, does UK have a successful season if the Cats don't win a championship? If the answer is no, then they haven't had a successful season in 10 years. Motherfucker!
Uh-oh.
You cannot judge the success of a season on a one and done tournament. Period. Because the best team every year throughout the season hardly ever wins the national title.
Right.
Because it's a hard thing to do to go into a one and done tournament, win 6 games in a row, and win that national title. So by Michael Bennett's logic, in the 100+ years of Kentucky basketball, there's only been 8 successful seasons. Shut the fuck up. You lost your radio show already. You need to lose your fucking Twitter account.
Right. And that's what he was doing here. He just reaching. He wants the attention because there is no more radio. I've actually listened to Michael Bennett's radio show a couple times when he had Shannon the Dude on there. He does not know anything about sports. I mean, like, I can understand why it's no longer a show.
If you just look at his tweets, it's obvious.
So
why he doesn't have a show anymore.
Right.
If you're just going off sports knowledge and sports takes, there's a reason why he's not on the radio anymore.
Right. And he wants to be one of those guys. See, these people with a little bit of money, like him, John, they think that, they're arrogant. They think that they can reach out and say, this is what I say, and this is what goes. And like, no, it don't.
No.
Shut the fuck up.
No, having a radio show does not mean you know what the hell you're talking about.
Because we can compare numbers, oh boy.
or writing a book. Doesn't mean you know what you're talking about.
I'm gonna write me a book.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, and then he goes on. He's like, the obvious answer is championships. Did you read that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy, dude. This guy
it's crazy.
Moving right along away from Michael Bennett.
Yeah.
Who we got next?
Let's go with Oscar Tshiebwe's Stan account. Dunkin' Donut 5. You see that one?
I see it.
And this was in response to Kyle Tucker on Shaedon Sharpe. If he's really the best player in next year's class, he should play right away. There's literally no reason to sit him.
All right, and we've talked about this before.
We've talked about this.
I got in an argument with the guy about
and
this shit
over again. I saw another argument. I got pulled into an argument with Big Blue Breakdown and this dude Marine for Life 9 or whatever, who apparently is somebody else on Twitter. You know, he was challenging him to a fight. He challenged me to a fight. Like,
wow,
dude,
on guard.
Understand this. It doesn't matter where he's ranked as a player coming out of high school. There is an adjustment period to going to college and playing basketball.
Yeah.
Period. It doesn't matter how good you are, because if you don't know your team's offense, if you don't know your team's defense, if you don't know your team's players, you're going to go out there and you're going to look terrible.
Right.
And then people are going to be like, dude, this guy sucks. Why is he the number one recruit in the country? Is that what you people want from Shaedon Sharpe? Do you want the fan base to turn on him and question why he was ranked where he was ranked?
Right.
Or do you want him to come in full of confidence and be able to, because he knows the offense and he knows the defense, and be able to go out there and be the player that he's expected to be? Me? It's an easy answer. You want the second one. The second one takes time. You can't just throw him out there right away when he steps on campus. Otherwise, you're going to get the former.
And that's facts. Oscar Tshiebwe's Stan account. You should change your name, though. But yeah, that's all the time you get on our show. The next dumbass of the week, Josh Moore.
Mm-hmm.
John Calipari needs to spend more time figuring out how to call timeouts and less time whining about perfectly good basketball plays. What the fuck?
So he's not supposed to address a play when his starting point guard gets injured and has to miss basically 2 games already. And he, I believe, was asked a question about that play specifically. It's not like he just came into the press conferences like, this is what needs to happen. No, but like, you can see his reasoning why. There's a reason why blindside and crackback blocks and that stuff were outlawed in football, right? Yes, players are bigger, they're faster, and they're running harder and everything else, but they're also protected with pads.
Right.
And they still outlawed those plays for player safety. Now, did I personally have a problem with that screen? No, I didn't. I didn't see anything wrong with the screen. Would I also have a problem if the NCAA came out and changed the rule to where you can't be set for a screen, 10 feet before a guy runs into you and you can't be set already? Or however they want to word it to protect the guy who doesn't see it coming. I also would not be upset if they came out and made a rule change to protect those guys from taking those blindside hits.
Right.
Because a lot of the injuries that you see happen on the floor in a basketball game, outside of the turned ankles and somebody falling awkwardly after a jump, most of them come on those blindside screens.
Right. Right. Hey, so let me add this in there. He was replying to Nick Roush on his dumb shit. So this was a double whammy.
Right.
Nick Roush
Because
and Josh
Nick was
Moore with
Nick was the
dumb
same
shit.
thing. Like,
Right.
because the only skill that he had on a basketball floor was standing there and hitting somebody from the blind side.
Right. Josh Moore, no. Don't
No.
do that. Just no. And to end the dumbest shit from Twitter this week is our Twitter friend. Not really.
Not really. But he's been on here a couple of times.
But he makes an appearance on this a lot. A few
This
times, several times.
third or fourth time that we've had one of his tweets on here.
Big Game Boomer.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Most passionate college basketball fan base rankings.
Mm-hmm. And he has Kentucky behind Auburn in the SEC.
Yeah.
Like,
what?
Now,
huh?
I really don't know how he comes up with his rankings sometimes. Because the only time Auburn has given a shit about basketball is these last few years with Bruce Pearl. They play in an arena that seats what? 9,000, 10,000 people? Something like that. Don't tell me they're more passionate about basketball than Kentucky fans are. Because if you go and just do a search of Twitter for Kentucky basketball, you're going to find some pretty passionate fans.
Right.
You know, on Twitter and Facebook.
In the ACC, he's got Louisville, number 1.
That's more legitimate than having Auburn number 1 in the SEC.
Right. I will say his little graphs are nice. Like, he does a good job with his
He does a good job with that.
But with the knowledge, trash.
No.
It's just
because
trash. Like, I could sort of kind of, like, with everything he puts out, you can sort of kind of tell that he does not like Kentucky, period. Because he doesn't go on facts.
The only team in the SEC that would rival Kentucky with basketball passion would be Arkansas. And he's got them behind Kentucky. Could you make an argument for Arkansas at number 1? Probably.
Yeah.
It's a thin argument, but you could make that argument. There's no argument for Auburn to be number 1 over Kentucky.
Right.
None. So it's just another one of those trolling graphics that he likes to put out. Because I think there was another one he put out recently with I think Liam Cohen or whatever, like number 56 for offensive coordinators in the country. So
the graphic is pretty.
The graphics are great. Like, we'll give him props on that.
The rest of it's some bullshit.
The rest of it, yeah. Like, I don't know where he comes up with some of his rankings at.
Big Game Boomer.
Yeah.
There you have it. That was the dumbest shit from Twitter this week. Great show. Anna Tarullo. Follow Anna Tarullo on Twitter at Tarullo Tweets. And you can watch her, check her out on BBN Tonight with Keith Farmer. As for me, you can follow me on Twitter at JHayesKY, and you can follow the voice of reason, JD Hall, at Tiffin Wildcat. Man, I'm looking forward to this season, and I see a lot of argument with Kentucky, and I'm like, damn, it's early January. I like my team, and I like what I'm seeing. You know, so quit it, or you will be on the dumbest shit from Twitter this week.
Yep.
Great show, JD. Thanks to Anna Tarullo for joining. Finally, we got through some tech issues, and she was able to come on. Anything to add?
No, just same thing. You know, thanks to Anna for joining us, and you know, sitting there and dealing with Jay's technical issues.
Wow.
You know, from his studio. Wow. You know, he had to rearrange a couple of things to get the issues fixed, but I think we're good to go now.
Right. And shout out to Michelle for always tuning in and always engaging us on Twitter. man, shout out to all you guys. And let's go, Big Blue. I'm your guy, Jay Hayes, and he is
JD Hall.
And we are Religiously Kentucky.
This was another episode of Religiously Kentucky.
It was great. Thanks for the hospitality.
If you liked this episode, make sure to give us a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes in our opinionated take on the world of Kentucky sports. Religiously Kentucky.
At one point, we were talking and we were like 20 minutes in with Ann, and I looked down and I was like, oh shit, I didn't hit record. And I was tripping. And that's why I kept looking at like
you didn't hit record on the screen. Is that what you're saying?
Oh no, on my Rodecaster.
Did you at that time?
I recorded everything.
Okay.
But I was tripping. And I looked down and I just like, there's different colors. And I was like, oh shit, that's why like, there's a point I kept looking over like, is that recording? I was tripped out. I was like, oh my God. Yeah.